While we cannot always control what happens to us, we always retain the ultimate freedom to choose our response.
Hi and welcome to Lead Well, the
Last week, I shared something with you that I learned from the trust technique, and that is that curiosity serves me better than expectations. There is something else that I learned from working with animals, and that is that I need to stay calm when it matters most. So, how can I do that? And why does this matter? So many questions I get from my coachees is, Christine, how should I react if somebody says to me something where I feel hurt, if there is a situation where I don't know what to do, if there is something happening unexpectedly? So, how should I react when things are happening to me? And in particular, one client, he has a bit of a trouble because when people talk to him, and especially when people interrupt him, this feels like an attack to him. It's like they would shoot arrows towards him. And what do you do if an arrow comes your way? Usually you start shooting back. And that's exactly what happens when we react in a reactive way. It also happened to me when working with my animals, especially my own animals, I have to admit, when they do things and I no longer understand how to handle them. Or should I say, in the past, when I no longer knew how to handle them, I felt helpless. And this helplessness, what this did is it made me become reactive, angry. I would do things that I would never do if I would be calm. So, what is the alternative to being reactive? The alternative is to be responsive. Now, let's look into what the differences are and how we can use that in not only leadership and human to human relationships, but also the relationship with our animals. And I will also give you several tools that you can use to make that shift. So let's define the two states. Reactivity, that is something that happens automatically. We talked a lot about the autonomous nervous system already. So this state where you feel attacked and your reaction is fight or flight or freeze. This is something that happens automatically, as I said, because it says the autonomic nervous system is doing that without us wanting to do it. It just gets there. It tells us, hey, there is a danger. We need to be really careful and we need to defend ourselves or run away. And it feels like it happens to us. So there is something happening to us and we need to react to that. And it can be a team member challenging you in a meeting. It can be a horse bolting or resisting or just not doing what you wanted them to do, or a child slamming the door to you. All of this raises this reaction of, hey, I need to respond, I need to do something about it. And usually I react as a reflex without even thinking about it. Now, responsiveness, on the other hand, that is what I would do in such situations if I had the time to think about it. So, responsiveness is intentional, it's grounded. Usually, it's also based on my empathy towards the other being. And when we look at the nervous system again, when we respond, when we are responsive, then this autonomic nervous system is in the state of the parasympathetic system. So this is the rest and digest, or the I am present here with you. You still feel the emotions, but you can choose how to react to them. You make that decision actively. And of course, when we are responsive rather than reactive, it's so much more probable that we will build a relationship, that we can create a connection with the other person because we can be clear, we can be calm, and we can stay in touch. And I mean, I am a pretty high thinking person, as we would say in the trust technique. So my thoughts are always rushing, or used to be always rushing around. And so when something happens to me, or when my husband says something to me, my initial reflex is to retort, to talk back, to strike back. And over time, I learned that the better response to something I'm told is to take a deep breath first, because then I can start thinking. And the exact same thing is true with my horse. So, yes, she still doesn't always behave like I would like her to behave. But now I know I need to stay calm, because otherwise the situation can even escalate. And we don't want to do that, because by our evolutionary development, we are wired the way that when we perceive danger, we need fast response. Our brain says we need to act. No time to wait, no time to think. And we even are seeing it a lot in our families, at school, in the workplace. We perceive a lot of reactivity. So we start thinking that's normal. And also, when we are stressed out, then it's even more probable that this sympathetic nervous system, this fight and flight autopilot, kicks in. And really, sometimes it's even considered a strength. Like, this person is a really quick decision maker. But when they make the decision without thinking about it, it often costs in hindsight. Now, we talked about this nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system that prepares us for action, for running away or fighting, or when there is no other way out, we just freeze there, because that's our survival instinct. The parasympathetic nervous system, the one that we are in when we are well rested, when we feel calm, this allows our presence. This allows our thinking. It goes even so far, the sympathetic nervous system, by the way, if you're stressed out a lot of time, your prefrontal cortex, so the part of your brain that is wired to do the high level thinking for you, it can shrink. Now, that's something I don't want to happen. So let's see how we can stay in this parasympathetic nervous system, or get back to the parasympathetic nervous system as quickly as possible. So what can I do to shift? The first thing really is to get aware, to be aware and be able to catch yourself in this reactive state and calling it out, saying, yes, now I am reacting. I am getting reactive. And then stop. If possible, physically stop. Take 2, 3 deep breaths. Do some of the PQ reps that I've already shared with you in some of my episodes. So these micro resilience breaks that reset your mind and reactivate the parasympathetic nervous system. In the trust technique, we call that entering the present moment. We get present fully present in our bodies so that we can be here and now and think about what to do. Or what you can also do in such a situation, you can ask a curious question. As we said last time, get curious. What else could be true? Or what am I currently feeling and what do I need? If I'm working with an animal, I could ask, well, how can I best describe the feeling that I'm getting from that animal? Or what's actually needed here? So focus on the solution rather looking back at the problem. And this is really crucial. I mean, I'm sure you also have experienced a situation where you wanted to react like me with my horse Maggie, and then I'm like, no, stay calm. You're not helping neither the situation nor my horse nor myself if I'm getting reactive right now. So breathe and make sure that you look at the situation through calm eyes. Because if I'm looking at something with these kind of eyes, my options are getting really very few. If I can look at situations through relaxed eyes, I have many more options at my disposition. So long term, really, I can only encourage you to build some practices that help you get into this responsiveness rather than reactivity, like doing regular micro resilience breaks to increase your mental fitness, this muscle in your head that helps you to deal with those kind of situations. Do some breath work. Maybe do some of those somatic exercises that I alluded to in my last episode, this Hana somatics that I'm so passionate about. Get familiar with your body. Get familiar with how your body reacts when you're stressed out. So many of my clients, they don't even know what to answer when I ask them, well, if you get angry, where in your body are you feeling that? And even less so when I ask, well, what kind of direction has this feeling? What kind of movement? And usually it's moving either this way or the other way, or even in that position, clockwise or counterclockwise. And once you spot that, that's something that you can also work with. We're doing that a lot in your linguistic programming. Because being responsive instead of reactive, it's so much more pleasant for ourselves as well. Because being reactive, let's be honest, doesn't feel good. And especially in hindsight, when we know better, when we know that we could have reacted or that we could have done something else. So make sure that you focus on becoming more and more responsive. And it's a practice, it's not perfection. So it's not something that I just decide to do, it's something that I practice to do. And the more you practice, the more your brain will be used to making that switch, and the more you will be able to stay calm when it matters most. And in that way, you will build trust with your team, with your families, with your animals, and also with yourselves. Because, hey, I mean, it's so much nicer to live with a person that is responsive rather than reactive. Now, what can you do? Let's look back to last week and think about a situation where you have reacted, or think forward and think about a situation where you would usually react, be reactive, because we know those situations, don't we? It could be with a person, could be with an animal, any type of trigger. And then set the intention to pause when that happened. It's great when you practice in hindsight, reimagine the situation as it was, and reimagine you pausing in that situation, because that already also sets your brain to be wired differently when this new situation comes up. And then do one thing: take a break, ask a question, or do a little PQ rep, or as I call them, a micro resilience break. And then reflect what shifted, what was different this time, and give yourself a round of applause if it worked out. And if it hasn't worked out the first time, you will have so many opportunities in your life to practice. So I can only encourage you to practice, because as one of the philosophers and psychologists, psychiatrists actually, that I most admire, Viktor Frankl, has said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, everything can be taken from a man but one thing: the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So what he's saying there is that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we always retain the ultimate freedom to choose our response. Isn't that wonderful? Now, I wish you a wonderful week with a lot of moments that enable you to practice staying responsive rather than reactive. Bye for today.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below, and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.